The first all-electric hyper SUV from Lotus, the Lotus Eletre.
This is one of the worst riding SUVs I've ever driven.
So, is Colin Chapman turning in his grave? Maybe, maybe not. Let me explain.
Este año, el vencedor ha sido Mario Andretti con Lotus.
25 years I've been running in Formula One, yeah.
Since its founder Colin Chapman died in 1982, Lotus has changed ownership several times, with each company promising renewed investment but failing to deliver. It was only a decade ago that some car experts were predicting the company's collapse again. But when China's Geely took over Lotus in 2017, there was light at the end of the tunnel. It seemed, at last, the brand was saved. After all, just look what it's done with Volvo and Polestar.
Fast forward to today, and a look on their website reveals they have 5 models in their current range, 3 of which are electric. Sounds good, right? However, the EMEA, a Hyper GT priced just below £95,000, won't be arriving with UK and European customers until Q3 of this year. The Avias has sold out and cost around £2 million. Not really a car for the people, Lotus, which just leaves us the Lotus Eletre.
It's not built in Norfolk, it has 5 seats and it's not lightweight, but the truth is, Lotus cannot survive by niche alone. It needs to broaden its appeal, or we will be going to its memorial service.
This family SUV starts from 90 grand, though this particular model, the S, with all its options costs 120. It weighs over 3 tons, is as big as a Range Rover, so it kind of makes a mockery of Colin Chapman's proverb, simplify and add lightness.
That said, Lotus Engineering, a sister company to Lotus Cars, has had an unseen hand in many cars on our roads. It provided the chassis for the original Tesla Roadster, for example, which just so happened to be the same time that Matt Windle worked at the company as an engineer. He's been MD of Lotus, by the way, since 2021.
But aside from experience of working at one of the world's most successful and biggest EV car manufacturers, for a new project to work, it has to connect with its past, right? And does it do that? Well, I lived with this family SUV for a week, so let me tell you.
Emerson Fittipaldi, the youngest ever individual world champion.
I'm Emerson Fittipaldi. After 50 years, to have my name on the car with all our history together is an honor for me.
One last squeeze. While Lotus racing and road cars were previously a common sight on the circuit, you won't see many Electras. Track-focused 2-seater car this ain't, but it is fast, very fast. The Eletre S has 600 brake horsepower, which is good for a 0 to 62 time of 4.5 seconds. But it's the speed in which it then carries on to 160 miles per hour, which is astonishing. When I first got in the car, I found it really fidgety. The suspension reacts to every undulation in the road, and those 23-inch wheels can't help. But actually, once you turn off all those annoying driver aids, put it in sport mode, put your seat right down low, it's really quite fun to drive. It's also a bit of a design statement. Yes, it's an SUV, but it really turns heads. We're at the West Kent Shooting School, where in the future, this car park's going to be rammed with these. But for now, let's take a look around the car. So it's got these holes bloody everywhere, which helps it cut through the air more efficiently. But look at all the grit that's come through. That's going to f the paintwork right up. These honeycomb grille shutters automatically open to cool the motor and close to increase range. We've got these various spoilers. This one opens and then closes again randomly. And to make loading and unloading a little easier, or if you've got dogs, then you might like this cool feature, which lowers the rear of the car. Exactly how much, I'm not sure, but I'm sure we can find that out later.
At this moment, I got accosted by various members of the shooting club.
It is fully electric, yeah. It's the new Lotus SUV. LiDAR. So there's also, well, yeah, it's actually equipped for autonomous full driving. Do you think Colin Chapman would like it, or do you think he'd be turning in his grave?
He probably would. The fact that it's electric, I think he would.
You've seen all these holes everywhere that channel air to make it all aerodynamic and stuff. But it's the speed from,
Even Ben, the cameraman, got asked questions too.
so between 50 and 70, it takes 2 seconds, but it's the speed after 70 beyond. I mean, obviously I haven't gone much, restricted a bit. It's where it's quite shockingly fast. And there's a frunk, a very small frunk.
Guns in that way.
Yeah, well there you go. Well,
Look at that.
we're going diagonally, yeah.
And after over half an hour of additional questioning, we had to retreat, leaving them with a talking point in the cafe afterwards.
So at first glance it seemed to be extraordinarily well made, but actually having lived with it for a week, we've noticed a few things. So the other day when I put my foot down, the glove box popped open. The charging pad just can't seem to get to work. And also where you tap your key card here on the B pillar, it's actually left loads of tiny little scratches. If you do purchase one, just be a little bit friendly with your Lotus dealer because you may well be popping back a few times. But having said that, there's waves of Alcantara and leather, carbon fibre. They've got these LEDs that run through the front of the car. So you've got this central screen here, which basically is the infotainment. And it's very intuitive to use, but it's not angled towards the driver. And when the sun's really bright, you struggle to see it. That said, there's this really beautiful thin display, which is basically replaces the traditional driver's binnacle, and you've also got heads up. The passenger here has got a similar strip which displays the radio station. So once you've got yourself seated in, and make sure your seat is at its lowest, you've got this gorgeous sporty steering wheel covered in Alcantara, and you've got these flappy paddles here. So the one on the left is your regen. You actually want in this car regen set to the lowest possible setting, so you can feel the friction brakes. It actually improves the driving feel of the car. And then on this side here you've got drive mode. The car will automatically set itself to tour. Don't leave it in that setting. And then there's sport, which just sharpens up the driving dynamics of the car. Off-road, which raises the suspension up by 25mm, and then there's a chance to do individual where you can tailor all the settings yourself. Oh, just one more thing. 2 cup holders, one ginormous, the other one tiny. Husband's not going to be happy about that.
There's a frunk that isn't too far off the storage you got in an Elise, and a 688 litre boot if you go for the 5-seater. It is not as soulless as the Tesla Model X. It's more luxurious than the Mercedes EQS SUV, but it's just not as good to drive as the Porsche Taycan. Sadly, the car for the drivers has lost out to the rearing horse from Stuttgart.
The Porsche is also the better car when it comes to efficiency. This is not efficient. So since this car left the factory, it's averaged around 2.1 to 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. The Porsche Taycan, however, during our time with it, has averaged around about 3. It also says that charging between 10 and 80% takes 20 minutes. That's if you can find a 350 kilowatt charger in the UK.
It is still fun to drive though, it's priced right and it looks great. And if you can live with the inefficiency and the fact it's not a Lotus in a traditional sense, it's very convincing.
So back to the original question, is Colin Chapman turning in his grave? I think he'd applaud the use of someone else's money to try and push Lotus further up market and also try and lead the way in the performance segment. It might be what the Discovery was to Land Rover or the Boxster was to Porsche, a model that plays a crucial role in Lotus's recovery and paves the way for its future success. Time will tell.
Well, we're expecting big things, of course. Obviously, we hope we'll be competitive again with we've got a very good team around us. We're looking for better times.